Hey guys, so just a quick kind of early week update. Let's see what's going on. It's been a busy day despite it being the Emperor's birthday, a holiday, the new Emperor. Um, so I just decided I didn't actually include this as a holiday in my school calendar, but a friend of mine reminded me last week. He's like, hey, next Tuesday is a holiday, right? He's actually my kid's English teacher. And I was like, oh, that's right. You know what? I think I'm going to take a day off. I've got my software job going today, just over another hour. That's been really busy today. I've filmed one code review and then refactored 2 more apps and submitted them for approval for review, which is a smart thing to do, because it takes a lot of time to rework people's code and get it working right and looking good. And the last thing you want to do is film a review by yourself and then your boss says, hey, can you change this part? So you learn a process. I think in business in general, you have to have some kind of a process that maximizes your time and efficiency. Otherwise, you just get burnt out. And I've been there. So it's good to kind of be settling into something like that where you can just kind of trust, like, okay, I've done everything I can for today. I'm on top of everything. What comes next depends on someone else's response. So that's where I'm at now. But anyways, I decided no English classes today because they're just burning me out, and I need to be really careful about that. So that was kind of a nice surprise. The new teacher is coming again tomorrow for actually this will be the second time to watch the classes she watched 2 weeks ago. And we kind of talked things over, so it looks like the basic idea is going to be she wants to watch every class I run at least twice. Well, the first time she'll watch, and then the second time she'll be teaching. And so that'll be a nice way to ease into it. And again, like I've said in previous videos, you just want to make the transition as smooth as possible, and it's a windy day today, by the way. Don't leave anyone hanging, or no sudden unexpected changes, as much as possible. So that'll be good. So yeah, tomorrow's the 24th, middle of the last week of February. So it's just after this week, it'll just be 3 short weeks, and bye-bye time. So it's really coming together fast. I'm glad it's happened the way it has. There's still a lot of work to be done. I'm getting all the information ready to submit to my tax accountant, who normally does a really good job. Expensive as he is, it's better than paying $500-600 a month in fees for insurance and taxes and whatnot. That almost killed me back in 2016. Useless tax accountant I had then, just useless. So anyways, yeah, you got to be careful about the numbers and how you're keeping track of records and claiming expenses and so on and so forth, because one thing with Eikaiwa is there is not a lot of overhead. I mean, after your first year, where you can claim things like buying furniture and computers and teaching supplies and reform and everything, once that's out of the way, I mean, it's just minimal. It's awesome in terms of the profit margin, but in terms of expenses, it's like almost nothing. You got your power bills and occasionally textbooks you buy, and if you upgrade furniture or something. So you really have to make it work. So this is my last year doing it like full scale. Every year it's kind of like blah blah blah, but my tax accountant does do a good job. I was hoping to put some effort into that now this afternoon, but I'm a bit fried from my coding work, so I'll probably do something in the interim just to get back on point. And there's some stuff to be done for the university still, some planning. I got grades and everything submitted last week. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of where I am. Got some more preparation to do for the new teacher as well. Probably have to go over, the logistics and business talk and all of that. But there's not a whole lot left to be done. The great part is I've been able to find someone who I can trust will do a decent job, and I have an option to get out of here. I think, I wouldn't say, yeah, there's definitely always some degree of luck involved in anything in life, and you know what they say about luck, that it's really just the confluence of the convergence, you could say, of preparation and opportunity. So luckily, I was prepared in time. You know, I had another job lined up, and this school luckily turned out to be an asset instead of a burden. Because I have heard of people struggling to get out of their school, you know, and especially if it's like in their house or something, or, you know, if they're a traveling teacher, which is what the woman who's taking over for me is. There's nothing to pass on. You know, the best you can do is just say, hey, these classes are looking for a teacher, and you don't own the classes like the way you do when you have your own location. So it looks like, you know, taking the hit and the initial sacrifice of opening a school that's not in my house and starting to teach in a way that doesn't involve me driving all over God's country was a wise investment. But like I've said, I'm not going to do it again. No, thank you. Just too much time, energy, and income lost, opportunity lost to justify doing it again. I think once around is a good learning experience. It really teaches you about, like, dude, you've got to just stick with this or you're screwed. And that's the only solution. I mean, save for elements like location, which is probably the most important, and then your expenses. The rest of it just comes down to sticking with it, and expenses play a big role in that. If they're too high, you just, you know, that's it. So luckily, I was just a very, very light, small operation, even though it was hard. If my wife wasn't working, I wouldn't have made it. So I don't know what I would have done. I mean, it's kind of scary to think about, really, because it would really just mean going back to whatever was available in town, and the options these days are not great. You might be able to get in somewhere as an ALT, which becomes very mind-numbing very shortly, and a lot is up to the environment. Like, I know one guy, as far as I know, he's still doing it. We've kind of lost touch. So he landed this contract as a permanent ALT, and he was teaching like 1 or 2 hours a day, and like he'd literally just go to the office and sit on his computer and play around all day. Some people are into that. I don't know. It's there's a reason those contracts are generally 3 years tops. I think people just reach a point where they're like, this is not as fun as it was. It's not very interesting. Yeah, my point is, you know, it would have been a step back for sure if I hadn't succeeded in this school. But I think there's a season to everything in life. You know, that's why we can notice time passing. I remember when I started teaching university classes, I was like, oh, cool. You know, I felt like I'd just been in university just yesterday. You know, I think I was 35, 36, and I went to my first class, and I was teaching. The first class was year 2s, yeah. So sophomores in university. And they just looked so young. I could not believe it. They looked like they were 12. I was like, what happened? This is crazy. I was like, oh, that's life passing. That's you growing older. You know, that's you becoming more mature and experienced, and kind of occupying a different place in your life. And that's good. I think change is good. Generally speaking, there are very few things in our life we wouldn't want to change. You know, things like being able to breathe and being able to, you know what I'm saying, like change is really inevitable, but it's a subtle art of knowing when and how and kind of what to change as well. And I think not just in business, but I definitely think that plays a role in people somehow ending up dissatisfied. You know, they're like, I don't know what to do, you know, and sometimes it's because the problem is not as clear as we would like. Moving abroad to a different country and being kind of stuffed into this environment where you're clearly one of the things that's not like the others. I mean, it can be hard for some really struggle, especially if they don't have the best relationships at home. And they feel themselves getting older, and you know, they don't make that initial effort to like overcome the difficulty of doing things like learning the language and maybe developing other skills, so that you're not a big, you know, start off as a big like 24-year-old baby and end up as a big 40-year-old baby. People like that really, really struggle, but it can be a blessing in disguise, because it does make the issues that need to be dealt with extremely clear. I mean, some people come from a background where their parents, I guess for lack of a better word, have their head screwed on straight, so they kind of imbue in their own children this sense of necessity for progressing in life and bettering your situation, and I guess at the end of the day, trying. But a lot of us don't, I find, especially like the younger generations in the US, maybe this is true in other Western countries. A lot of us tend to be kind of comfort seekers. We're born into a relative level of comfort, and there's no like common overbearing element that says if you don't change, you're going to regret it. It's kind of rare. I think in older generations, it was more the case. Like I'm from the West Coast, so in the area I grew up in, 200 years ago, well, okay, 200 years before the time I was born, there was nobody out there except Native Americans. So like everything I saw around me, I can remember like seeing old farms and houses and logging towns and stuff that like were built out of the wilderness. Those people they started with nothing. They walked like thousands of miles and ended up in this absolute wilderness with nothing but the tools they had, the animals they had, and each other. And so that drive was like there, and it lasted for generations. People just knew they had to work like crazy while they had the time and energy to do it, or else it was, people could die. So I think there's a kind of cycle like that where you reach this point where there's this collective level of comfort, and then people get used to that and they kind of fade into that sense of security, and it's not always a bad thing. I mean, if you're at least have the sense to like get a job and be responsible, you can live out your life like that, no problem. But then there's the other issue where your efforts, while they may seem normal and inadequate, they're actually falling short, and you're actually not setting yourself up for a good future, and you're actually falling behind, and you're actually going to face those problems in a very real and very painful way some point down the line. And whether or not you have the energy or the skill set or the wherewithal to deal with them is really up in the air. And so moving to Japan has made that a lot more clear than it would have, I think. Because I've got friends well, to their credit though, the one in my mind at least, he doesn't have any children, so he's not really responsible for anybody else. But he's approaching 50, and he's basically been following his hobbies like pretty much his entire adult life. But like I say, he doesn't have anyone he's responsible for per se. So maybe he'll be okay. I don't know. But I think aside from leaving your country, it's also like if you become a father or a mother, the reality of the future and the commitment of it become really, really strong. If you're a decent person, if you don't bury your head in the sand and pretend you're single, as I've known some to do. Anyways, yeah, these things are real, and life is definitely a challenge. But I've been doing a lot of reading lately about kind of how to live your life, and one of the tenets really seems to be is that one of the most important things you can do for yourself is to face what's difficult and to overcome it, whatever it is. If it's increasing your income or staying healthy or managing human relationships in a better way, because you're really helping yourself. And this book I'm reading right now, it's called I won't mention it because people are so political, but one of the tenets in it, I'm losing my train of thought here. That sucks. Hold on. What was I going to talk about? Oh, that's annoying. Yeah, okay, now. So basically, if you see someone, above a certain age, say 30s, 40s, 50s, and they seem destitute and kind of a victim, so to speak, it's not always the smartest approach to assume that they are purely just the victim of all of these unfair circumstances, because it normally turns out, statistically speaking, that the real cause is because they avoided responsibilities and devoted their energies instead to explaining away their situation and seeking more to be a victim than to be a responsible adult. And I know that's not true for everybody. I mean, obviously there are things that can happen that are extremely unfortunate. You know, there are accidents where you're no longer able to use your body or your mind, or you may have to sacrifice your life for, you know, an older parent or someone in your family. There's any number of things can happen, but it's interesting to think that, you know, we do have a lot more opportunity open to us than we may realize. And even if what's being asked of us is, you know, seems like a lot, the fact is that many people have done it before, and very often in circumstances that were likely less conducive than your own, you know. So I guess what I'm saying is laziness, whether we admit it or not, what is really a laziness will never really reward you, right? It's like you're always gonna kind of take the easy way out, and over time you kind of deny yourself what would have come if you just kind of faced the problem and grown from that and used your new strength to take on the next problem incrementally. Nothing crazy. I'm not talking like Elon Musk level stuff, or, you know, but just in daily life, being able to manage things responsibly and go to bed at night saying, yeah, I worked hard today and I did something and I feel ready for tomorrow, you know. So anyways, those are some random thoughts. I tend to jabber, but I don't know. Anyways, we'll see how things go with the new teacher. I'm gonna have to kind of monitor her and make sure things go according to plan. And my biggest concern is I want her to remain appreciative and to understand that this community is really, really small, and that she needs to kind of mind her P's and Q's a lot more than she would even just downtown. I had a little bit of a sense about that, the mouth part of her might need some work, but we'll see. In the end, come April, it's her deal, not mine. So we shall see.